Welcome to Lesson 6 on writing expressions. So today we're going to take word problems or phrases and translate them into expressions. And before we do that, we need to look at some keywords. So what we're going to do is we're going to complete the table below using 4 different colors: red, blue, green, and yellow. So you're going to want to make sure that you have access to these colors. If you don't have all 4, feel free to share with a neighbor. So multiplication is going to be our first set of keywords that we're going to look at. And I want you to either color in or box this box red. So we're going to identify all of our multiplication words with the red color. Some of these key terms may include times, the product of, multiply by, or the word of. Now, you have to be careful because these are not the only words that signify multiplication, but in many ways they are usually similar to these words. Next, we're going to look at division. For division, you're going to use your blue color to either box or shade in the division box. Then we can look at our division words. These may include divided by, separated, divided into, or the quotient of. Remember, quotient is a word that signifies division. Next, we're going to look at addition, and for addition, we're going to use the color green. So go ahead and box or shade in the addition box. Remember, if this is moving too fast for you, you can always pause the video and press play as soon as you're ready. So some addition words that we want to remember are plus, the sum of. Remember, the sum is the solution to an addition problem. Increased by, total, more than, or added to. And last but not least is our subtraction box. We're going to use yellow to show this box. So go ahead and box or shade in the square with the color yellow. And for subtraction, some of our keywords include minus, the difference of, decreased by, fewer than, less than, subtracted from. So what we're going to do is we're going to identify which operation is indicated based on the keyword or from the context. We are going to underline. Whoops, I spelled underline wrong. We're going to underline the keywords in the colors that are listed above. So if we look at Bruce is 4 times taller than Alice. Well, we can find the word times up here in our multiplication box. So we're going to underline that word times in red, and then we're going to check the multiplication square. Next, we can look at Mrs. J has 12 bags of candy that she will split equally among her students. Well, remember that we said that the word split is not found directly in our organizer. However, the word split is very similar to separated or divided into. So we can say that the word split is a division word. So we're going to underline it in blue. And then we're going to check the division box. Miles has 10 fewer stickers than Arturo. Here, 10 fewer. Well, fewer than is going to be a subtraction word, so we're going to go ahead and underline that in yellow. And then check our subtraction box. Kaylin spends $40 more than Mark at the store. Well, more than is addition, so we're going to go ahead and underline that in green, and then check our addition box. Hank ate twice as much ice cream as Kenny. Okay, well, twice as much is pretty much the same as times as much, which is up here in multiplication, so we can go ahead and underline that in red and check the multiplication box. The number of students decreased by 120. Well, decreased by is a keyword for subtraction, so we can go ahead and underline that in yellow and then check our subtraction box. All right, now we're ready to go ahead and get started on some problems. So, as we are writing expressions, we want to follow these three steps. So what we want to do is define a variable. And by doing this, we want to ask ourselves, what are you looking for in the problem? We want to give that variable, we want to give it a variable and explain what that variable means. Next, we want to highlight or underline the operation words, and we can use our same colors as we did on the front side to do that underlining. Next, we're going to look for the word than. Now, the word than is very important whenever we're writing expressions. If the word than is present, we're going to write the second half of the description first. If the word than is not present, we're going to write the description as you would read it. So let's look here. 3 more than a number. So first thing I want to say is what do I not know? Well, I don't know a number, so I want to pick a variable for a number. I'm going to pick the variable x, and I'm going to say that x has to equal a number. So it could be any number. Next, I want to highlight the word more than. Well, we know that more than is an addition word, so we can go ahead and underline that in green. And next, I notice that I've got the word than. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the second half of the description first. So it says more than a number. This is the second half of this description. It's after the than part. So it says a number. Well, I know a number has to be my variable x. Then I'm going to write the first part of my description, which is 3 more than. Well, 3 more than is just going to be plus 3. And I've got my final expression of x plus 3. Now let's look at example number 2. It says the product of 4 and a number. Okay, well again, what do we not know in this description? We don't know a number, so we're going to assign it a variable. I'm going to give it variable n, and I'm going to say that n equals a number. So I always need to explain what the variable represents. In this case, it can be any number. Now we've got the product of 4 and a number. We know product is multiplication, so we're going to underline that in red. And we do not have the word than, so we're just going to write the description as we would read it. The product of 4, so we're going to write the number 4, and a number. Well, we know then we're going to have our variable n, and again, our operation is just multiplication. So it's 4 times n. You could also write this as 4n. Let's move on to number 3. Number 3 says a number decreased by 4. So we're going to first pick a variable. I'm going to pick the variable m. And I'm going to say that M represents any number or a number. Now we know it's decreased by 4. Well, decreased by is one of our subtraction words, so I'm going to underline that in yellow. And if it's decreased by 4, and there's no than present, I'm going to write the description as I would read it. So a number, well, a number is going to be represented by M. Decreased, that's subtraction, by 4. So I have M minus 4 as my final expression. Next, the quotient. Well, I remember the quotient is division, so I'm going to go ahead and underline that in blue, of 30 and a number. Okay, again, I don't know what a number is, so I'm going to go ahead and define that. I'm going to use the variable d. Remember, you can use any variable you want. D is equal to a number. We don't know what that number is. Now, the word than is not present, so I'm going to write this just the way it would read. It says the quotient, so division, of 30 and a number, so 30 divided by D. Remember that division can also be written through a subtraction or through a fraction. So I can also write 30 over D because this means 30 divided by D. All right, next one. You spend $30 per gallon of gas. So think about this. You're spending $30 for 1 gallon, $60 for 2 gallons, $90 for 3 gallons. So when we think about this here, the word per is actually going to be a multiplication word for us. The word per is also going to be a multiplication word. So how we can do this is we need to first define a variable. Now I don't know how many gallons of gas I'm buying, so I'm going to say G equals the gallons of gas. So we don't use a number in here because in this description we have a little bit more context. So G equals a gallon of gas. Now we know we've got $30 per, so 30 times the number of gallons of gas. So we've got 30 times G, or we can write this as 30G, and you've got your expression. Next, we've got a given number of feet converted into inches. Ooh, well this one's a little tough because we have to think about, first of all, how many feet do we have? Do we know that? No, we don't know that, so that's going to be our variable. I'm going to use variable f, and that's going to represent the number of feet. Now we're converting that into inches, so we have to ask ourselves, do we know how many inches are in a foot? Well, yes, we do. We know that there's 12 inches in 1 foot. So we can go ahead and write this as the number of feet times 12, because if we think about this, if we've got 1 foot, there's 12 inches. If we've got 2 feet, there's going to be 24. If we've got 3, there's going to be 36. So we know that this is multiplication. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write my coefficient or my number first, and then I'm going to multiply that by my variable. So 12 times f, or you could write this as 12f. Now, the last couple, if you'd like to try on your own, go ahead and do so. I will tell you that these ones down here are a little bit more complex because they have 2 steps to them. But if you want to try these last 4, pause the video and come back to the video as soon as you're ready to check your answers. Feel free to do that. So, we know that Emily weighs 5 pounds more than Allie. Well, more than is going to signify addition, so I can underline that in green. And it says than in here, so we know we want to write our second part first. So let's look. Emily weighs, so we're trying to write an expression for what Emily weighs. 5 pounds more than Allie. Well, we need to know Allie's weight in order to find Emily's weight, and we don't know Allie's weight. So that right there is going to be our variable. Now, since we've got the word than in there, we know we're going to start with the second half, which is Allie. And then we've got 5 pounds more than that, so we can add 5 to our A. And you've got your final expression. Number 8, there are 3 fewer tigers than lions. So, we're trying to show how many tigers there are, and we know that there's 3 fewer than the lions. Well, fewer is going to be our subtraction word. Whoops. Fewer is going to be our subtraction word. We've also got the word than in here, so we want to make sure that we're writing the lions first. Now, we don't know the lions, so we can label that as L equals the number of lions, because we don't know that. Now, there are 3 fewer than the lions, so we're going to put our L first, and then we're going to go show 3 fewer than that, so L minus 3. All right, number 9. Number 9 says 4 more than twice a number. So first thing I need to recognize is that I don't know what this a number is. So I'm going to go ahead and assign that a variable. I'm going to use y, and I'm going to say that y equals a number. It could be any number. Now, next thing I have to recognize is the word than is in here. So I want to write the second half of this description first. So it says twice a number. Well, if we look at twice, twice is actually going to be one of our multiplication words, because we know we're going to be taking 2 times something. So in this case, we're going to be taking 2 times a number. A number is y, so 2y. And then we've got 4 more than that. Well, more is going to be one of our addition words. So what we're going to end up doing is adding 4 to that. So 2y plus 4 is your final expression. All right, next, we've got 6 minus the quotient of a number and 2. Okay, so we notice that there's no than in here, so we know we're going to write this as we read it from left to right. The first thing we need to do is pick a variable. So it says 6 minus the quotient of a number and 2. Well, we don't know this a number, so I'm going to go ahead and label it x equals a number. Remember, you can use any variable you want. And then we're going to write this as we read it. So 6 minus, well, minus is one of our subtraction words. So 6 minus the quotient. Well, I know that my next operation then is going to be division. So division of a number and 2. A number is our x divided by 2. So that's one way to write it. Again, another way to write this is using our fraction. So 6 minus x over 2 would be a second way to write this. All right, if you have any questions, please see your teacher. If not, go ahead and move on to the practice.